Hi everybody, this is Jayant. In this video, I'll cover about different type of I'll cover about variables and different data types in Python, including a couple that is almost never told about or is missed by most of the beginners. Okay, and I will talk about different ways to write text or string. Let's get into it. Okay, so first, what is a variable? Okay, so variable is nothing but it is a label or a block or a bag or a box that you can think of that can store or remember your information. It could be anything from your name, score, price, or anything. So basically, sorry, that is called a variable, and that's how Python remembers it. Okay, again, think of it as a labeled box. You could put a value inside it, stick a name, the label on it. The computer keeps it in its memory. You want to call that whenever you want to call that, it will bring that. Okay, so later you just use the name or the variable to get the value back. You never have to deal with the memory yourself. Okay, so think of it as a password. You say my password is whatever your password is, and you put that password in a box called password or ABC. So whenever you want to put in your password, you just type ABC, but it fetches your complex password and puts it in. Okay. So let's see that in code. Now, whatever you see here, name, this is nothing but a variable. Age is nothing but a variable. Age, this is nothing but a variable. These are three different variables. What are they doing? They are storing certain information. What is this storing? This is storing my name. What is this storing? This is storing age. What is this storing? This is storing age. Okay, quick question. Anybody knows why I have mentioned two uh, variables here? Age lowercase and age uppercase. Let me run this. I think it's already run. Okay, so if I have the first value is name. Okay, if you print this, this would give you this variable's value. This is giving this variable's value. This is giving this variable's value. Okay, so if you run this, I'm getting this. Now, why I used lowercase and uppercase of A? Okay, in order to answer that, let me go down for the rules for naming the variables. Very, very important rules, but very easy to remember as well. Okay, first is let me talk about first this one. Why I have used two variables which looks identical to you, but they are case sensitive. Remember, in the previous session, I told that Python is a case sensitive language. So this age, which is uppercase, and this age is not same, so it stores two different values. Now, coming back to the naming of uh, variables. Okay, the first is you could use his here n as well. You could use here xyz as well, whatever you want to use, but you always use a meaningful name which is understood to anybody who reads your code. Okay, this is the first thing. If you have to give some space here, you never say first age. Okay, if you let me actually write it in a new uh, code here. Let me write a new code. So let me see if for let me say first 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 name equals. Okay, what do you think will happen? It says syntax error, invalid syntax. So in Python, if you have to define a variable, you always use underscore if there is space. Otherwise, don't you if you don't want to use space, just put everything together. If you run this, okay, let me say sorry, let me print it. Print first name. Okay, so it says Jen. Let me say here underscore. What will happen? Yeah, it still remembers it still remembers. It's not printing first underscore name. See, guys, it's just printing first name together, right? And it still remembers that I stored here the value of j. If I put it like this, it will give the same results because I have already defined here. Okay, that's the second point. The third is always remember, this is one of the interview questions, that you can't define your variable with a, a number. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Okay, now in previous session or in previous video, I told about why Python is so popular. Okay, one of the point that I gave in that video was Python is dynamically typed. What does it mean by dynamically typed? Anybody know? Okay, so in all other language, for our example, C, C++, SQL, Java, whatever you can think of, if you're defining a variable, okay, you first have to define its class or its data type. For example, here, if it would have been any other language, so if you're writing hello, which is a text, you would have to say, okay, I am going to write a text, I'm going to write hello, but this is a text, this is a string data type. You have to define the data type. But Python is a dynamically typed language, hence it means you don't need to define if 5 is an integer or hello is a string. It automatically understands that. So hence you see the powerfulness of Python. You don't have to do the heavy work. It's so simple, less to code, and it is multi-variance, multi-directional. You could use this language as I discussed in my previous lecture in AI, in like ChatGPT, everybody, ChatGPT, Claude, all their backend is defined here. You could write a web page. Okay, so that is that. Now coming to dif okay, the built-in data types. I will talk to you about some quick data types in Python, and the bigger the one which are complex, I'll talk to you with a separate individual video. Okay, coming here to string. Okay, whatever you type here, whatever is a text, it's a string. Okay, so whenever whenever you type, okay, a value here, you know you, uh, Python automatically knows it's a string. Okay, so what is a type first? It tells Python that what kind of thing, the value you have defined here, and what functions you are allowed to do with it. So, for example, if you have defined two numbers, you could do arithmetic operations with that. But if it's a name, you can't add a name now number. So it helps Python to prepare itself, as to what operations we can do. Now, the first one is string. Okay, anything as I told you type or text is a string. Now, couple of quick nuggets here. You see here, I have defined A and B variables, but I have defined string, both of them as string data types with single quote and double quotes. Why did I do that? Anybody knows here? So if you see, both of their data types are same, but why did I do that? Okay, the answer is very simple. If you're using a single quote here, and if it contains an apostrophe, you won't be able to fetch your desired line, right? So if there is an apostrophe, you always use double quotes. Understood? Right? Let me run this. So if it's a double quote, it says it's a great day. So it's recognizing or respecting the single quote that you have put. Okay. Then here in the single quote, if you have double quote high, it's marking that as a specific, it's giving that as a specific value and putting those quotes. Now, what is the use case of three quotes? There is a three quotes also you could use in this string data type. Why? Because if, let's say, if you want to span your line of code into multiple lines, right? So normal quotes won't work. So you have to use triple quotes. Okay, here, if you run this, which I've already run, you could see three things here, right? Now, if I add one more thing here, say, sorry, say last line, what will happen? Would this be printed here or here? Any idea? Okay, it makes sense. So it prints here because I'm using triple quotes. Okay, in other languages, you have to use parentheses then to define a new line. Okay, Quickly moving down to the next data type, which is integer. Okay, so integer is defined as int, so it's short for integer. It's basically a counting number. It can define your age, your followers, your items, whatever that is. Anything which is non-decimal is a int type. Okay, if there is anything which has decimal values, it's a float. Okay, it's a float. Okay, you could use it for price, height, rating, whatever that is. If you run here, it says float. Okay, the fourth one, which is the most complex, and this is not the complex, the data type is called complex. It is the hidden one. You must have studied in your school about iota and imaginary numbers. Is something very much, it's exactly the same. So it is, Python has this built-in complex numbers, wherein this is a real number and this is an imaginary number. If you print this, it says, it gives the value of whatever first you're defining these complex number and storing it in the variable. Then you're printing the value of z, which is the variable itself, 3.4, 4.0, and then you're typing, asking it's the value. So value is this. In the next line, you can also fetch these real and what you call imaginary values separately. And this is one of the nuggets that I want to give you, that most people are not aware of. Okay, moving down, for a none data type. Okay, none data type, most of the people are not aware of this, but this is a special uh, you know data type. When you don't want to define anything, you don't want to put anything in the box yet, so you define, but you want to define a variable. So you want to define a variable, but you don't want to put here anything, so it's none. Okay, so if you run this, it's none. Okay, moving on, variables can change reassignment. What does it mean? So if there is a variable called score, I assign its value as 10, and if I print score, what will I get? What will I get, guys? I will just get 10. Now, if instead of 10, I want to say my score has improved to 50, I define 50 in the same variable. Now what will happen? If I run this, guys, what will happen? It says the print is, its printing score is 50. Okay. Quick one, guys. I want to summarize, whatever we have studied so far using code. So in the real program, right? Whenever you're defining a real program in real industry or a production grade environment, you always want to have different variables storing different values of different data types. Here, if in this code you see username is a variable which is storing my name, followers is another variable which is storing some count, which is int. Again, this is 4.8, which is stored in a variable called rating. This is float. Now, is active again is a variable which stores a boolean type, which is true. Then phone, which is, we have defined it, but we don't know what is the value. It is definitely, it could be string as well, it could be integer as well, whatever that is. I'm just leaving it for now. uh, Okay, so this is how we define it. If we run it, you will get it. Okay, so here I've just run a code here which tells you what is the type of phone, right? So remember, if you want to check a type of a variable, just put that variable name inside the type function. Okay, so just to summarize our video, guys, what did you learn? You learned a variable, okay, is named. Okay, you have to name a variable. For example, this. You It is case sensitive. We studied lowercase and uppercase of age, and it stores a value in the memory, so you don't have to remember it. Okay. Now, again, we learned Python is dynamically typed, so you don't have to define the data type, it automatically understands. There are certain built-in data types: string, integer, float, complex, boolean, NoneType. There are more complex ones, or which are lists, string, tuples, sets, dictionary. I'll talk to you about that in the next videos. Then, if you have to check the data type of of a variable, then you have to type the keyword type and then put it in whatever variable you have, put it in. Okay. In next video, I will talk about strings in depth, indexing function, slicing function, and other string functions. Thank you, guys.